All right. Hey, welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth, of course.
Hello.
And we got Bill's already here. Hey,
Bill's
how you
here,
doing?
and I'm sure others will
I'm
come.
sure others. Well, there's three, and one of them's probably you.
And there's Mark.
And there's Mark.
And
Hi,
one of
Mark.
them is me. Sorry. So I'm skewing our numbers.
That's all right. That's okay. We need skewing.
We
So
do need
tonight we are kind of, I don't know if we call it wrapping up or just continuing our time travel, sort of unofficial time travel series on, and we're doing 1980s. The final countdown, which was
voted on by viewers. They wanted this last.
This was what you guys wanted us to do. We gave you
Well,
choices.
asked for it. Where are you all to watch it?
So, no, when the movie came out, I mean, I was a kid and I really liked it. So, but we'll talk about that. But we have news.
We got news. What's going on in the world? Let me see. Where's the news? In the news. Oh, I got some DC news. Adam Driver is in talks to take the role of Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four reboot. Nothing's confirmed yet, but fans are already flooding the interwebs with their images and art of Adam in the costume, which they do that sometimes. Have you guys seen all the Star Trek Legacy stuff? Like half the time I can't tell what's real, like what's a fan created thing and what's like truly generated by Paramount. Like it's like,
well, the AI stuff is getting crazy.
The AI stuff is getting crazy. And then also in DC news, the Flash trailer dropped. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but it looked more like a Batman movie. Like there was a lot of Batman, and there's Keaton, and he was going, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." And there was, I think, Batflick jumping out of the Batwing in the air. I'm not really sure, but it was like a lot of Batman going on in that trailer.
Well, you know, DC Batman is still probably their most profitable superhero.
Probably. Well, this is going to be one of those.
I think he's bigger than Superman as far as profitability.
You know, he might be. You know, that's a great question. Money wise, is
Batman? I bet you Batman. Especially if you fold in video games and everything else.
Interesting.
That would be my guess. It's just my speculation. I have no actual data to back that up.
I bet you're not. I bet you're not wrong. I bet you're close.
Look how many Batman movies there have been. There's been way more Batman movies
and they seem to be more popular than Superman.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And the video games, especially the Arkham series, is hugely popular. Yeah. So anyway,
moving on. All criminal charges have been dropped against Alec Baldwin in the shooting of Helena Hutchins on the set of Rust. Remember we talked about that when it happened. I think this is the right thing to do. We still don't know the details, but this seemed kind of weird.
Was there any of why they dropped?
No, I didn't. There was no other.
I was surprised that they had brought criminal charges to begin with.
I was too.
But I thought if anything, it would be civil, civil suit.
I was too. I thought the on-set weapon master needed to be.
If anybody, would be criminal, would be that person. But yeah. So it's curious to know why.
Yeah, I'll have to research it a little more. How to Train Your Dragon live action. Rumors of casting for How to Train Your Dragon are swirling with a tentative release date of March 14, 2025. They're looking at a bunch of different people. I don't know, guys. What do you think? How to Train Your Dragon is one of the cuter ones.
It was. Well, I only saw the first one. I know there's like 2 or 3 of them.
2 or 3. They're adorable. There's nothing. They're so innocuous.
Is it necessary to make? Why are you doing a live action?
That's what I was about to ask. Is this necessary? That movie was cute. It's.
And are they going to keep it a kids, or are they going to try to make it more?
Yeah, they're going to try to make it. Yeah.
More, Game of Thrones.
Just because you can make a dragon on CGI doesn't mean you should make a dragon on CGI. Like that thing was perfectly adorable, and it needs to be just left alone. I think. I don't know. Whatever.
Just because you can do a thing does not make you mean you should do that thing.
Andy Serkis has confirmed he will be back in Andor season 2. Can't remember the character's name, but remember he was the prisoner who was like the head. Of their
guy that couldn't swim.
And he couldn't swim. That's right. And they're all fleeing, and he's like, I can't swim.
I can't swim. I thought, almost because they just shoved him over.
They should have. Somebody would have got him to
the
shore.
I think they did. I think that's what happened, isn't it? Or
I don't know. The camera pans out, and you see him standing as everyone kind of flows past him like lemmings to the sea. Yeah. And he's just kind of there. So obviously he retreats, and then what happens from there, we don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. Broken Lizard just put up a post today saying they are writing Super Troopers 3. A little more. I don't think they'll go back to Canada. I don't know what they'll do for Super Troopers 3. I entered their contest. They had a contest, a giveaway. They just released Quasi, and I had talked about it. And Jade Chandrasekhar wears his crown as the king, and they were going to give away the crown. So I entered that contest. I don't know who won yet, but maybe I'll have a crown. I don't know. And then finally, not finally, I got something else after this, but finally in this part of the news, Trek Movie reports that the petition for Star Trek Legacy has already surpassed the petition for Strange New Worlds, and we got Strange New Worlds. What do you guys think? Start typing. Do you want Legacy? How do you envision it? Let us know in the comments. And just out of curiosity, do you guys remember the character, that little Legolas Romulan elf character with the sword? His name was Elnor or something. Wasn't he supposed to be on the Excelsior? And didn't the Excelsior blow up or something? Is he dead?
I don't remember. Well, wasn't he killed because of the whole time thing?
Wouldn't he just be dead because he turned into him and Kestra? Like Kestra would have been. She was supposedly at the academy, so wouldn't she have gotten turned?
I thought he was killed altogether. Maybe I don't know. That was all a blur. He was killed. He was killed early on in season 2. We assumed maybe when they fixed everything that he would be back. I don't know.
Guys, start right. I don't remember Elnor's fate. Does anybody remember Elnor's fate? Which is not good. I mean, when you can't remember a character like that.
We're going to talk about that next week, the whole show.
Yeah, we'll talk. I just want to talk about season 3. Like, I really just want to talk about season 3.
No, we're going to talk about 1 and 2, though. I think we need
We'll hit on it. We'll hit on 1 and 2. And then finally tonight, get out your party hat and blow your thing. Happy anniversary to us. It's our 3rd show. Distilled. It's Distilled's 3rd anniversary. Tell me now, kids, I have some questions for you about what you've learned watching Sci-Fi Distilled. Which background prop? Look at Rizzo.
They have way too much time on their hands.
They learned nothing from us.
Learned nothing.
Look at Rizzo. Which background prop is the best background prop?
I changed them too, so there's not.
And he changes them around. I like the TV. I liked the thing that you had, the little mini TV in.
Oh yeah, that's over there. It's It's eventually that's going in the Kirk office.
I was gonna say best crossover episode, but we only ever crossed over with Roy. So Roy gets best.
There were several. There's a few good ones there. So.
There's a couple of good ones. We usually do it at Halloween. If you have a choice, best Halloween costume on me, I can remind you what the 3 years were.
Yours are always better than mine. So
Evil Queen, Velma, and then Catwoman. I did. Most enjoyable show. Anything you particularly enjoyed? Do you like it when we screw around and get off on a tangent, or do you like when we stay on topic?
What is this? Is like a Survey Monkey or something?
It's Survey Monkey.
We're gonna send out Survey Monkey to everybody.
I want your feedback. I want to know how we're doing 3 years in.
Yeah. There's still a small group here, so
we still got people.
There must be something they want about it.
Should we keep the news segment, which is this?
Yes.
Or should we dump it? I say yes. Yes.
In the news.
Best celebrity guests. Our celebrity guests were Alicia Naff, Patricia Tallman. Patrick Reed Johnson.
Okudas.
The Okudas and Doug.
I guess Doug by himself twice.
And Doug by himself twice.
Yeah, I think that's really it. Other than our usual Trek Condoroga.
Well, yeah, that's the best celebrity guest. And then who's our best regular guest? I think our most frequent regulars are either Bruce or Kent.
Bruce or Kent for sure.
Yeah.
So
should we lean a little more into the alcohol? No. Spoiler, no. And what?
It's a work night, so you know.
And what, gentle viewer? What, if anything, have we learned in 3 years of doing Sci-Fi Distilled?
What have we learned?
What have they learned?
Me and you?
Let's listen. Me and you. What have you learned, Rizzo? 3 years of having to sit here and listen to me. Yummy, yummy, yumma. What have you learned? It's
more work than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Well, not really. I don't think it's a lot of work, but you know, I don't know. You can't. He's just throwing that at me. I can't. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Go back to best celebrity guest.
I'll come back to that next week.
I've learned, you know what I've learned? I enjoy some of these, even the movies that are horrible. Doing the research and learning about their background and how they got made and stuff makes you appreciate it. At least appreciate the work. The movie may still be horrible, but you appreciate the work they went into it, that they put into it.
Absolutely.
That's what I've learned doing this show for 3 years. And that I prefer to know what we're doing ahead of time so that I have all weekend to prepare. When we choose on Mondays,
I never can think of stuff.
When we choose on Mondays, I'm always like, okay, I don't know.
And yet we pull it off. So, all right. So, mull all that over, folks, and let us know. We do have a drink for tonight, of course. And
Chris says Kent is the man.
Navy Grog is our drink tonight. And it's hard to read because there's a lot of stuff, but dark rum, tamari rum, white rum, a lot of rum, lime juice,
all the rum,
grapefruit juice, honey syrup, some club soda. So sounds very summery.
Summery. Chris says he likes learning the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, I do too, Chris. I will really try to make sure I always have a few of those facts every week.
Yeah, I mean, we try to.
I do try to have at least some information. I don't always get to all of it, but at least I have something.
So, yeah, we don't go over the movie or the series too detailed as far as because we figure everybody's seen it.
Bill likes our dogs.
Well, that's a good thing. Ripley's right here.
But yeah, I got one.
I don't know where the other one don't hang out in here.
I don't know where the other one is either.
So.
They say happy anniversary. They do want legacy. Yeah, I think I want legacy, but do you want legacy where it's just like, I want to still keep seeing the old characters that pop in. They don't have to do a whole season. Just pop in a couple episodes.
But what are they, I guess, what are they saying? They're going to do I haven't seen much about it, but it's just going to be Seven and
I figure it was Seven and Raffi on the newly christened Enterprise, which I know you don't think they should.
That was a mistake, but anyway.
Christen a ship. Yeah, I think
don't change the name. Come on, all you guys that have naval maritime backgrounds, you know this.
And they'll still have
bad luck to change the name of a ship.
That's true. They'll probably still have Sidney LaForge on board with them, so there's a LaForge connection. I don't know. Bill Sotak saying they re-examine. I talked about that Alec Baldwin gun thing. Bill says they re-examine the gun. I'm gonna have to look at that again, Bill, and find out what the details are.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know what they're probably gonna do it because I saw something about Kurtzman listening to the fans or something.
Yeah. Are you kidding? They want to work. People, they want to work. They want the jobs.
Yeah, it's just that they're all getting older.
They are. Yeah. No. I mean the production crew.
The production crew. Well, yeah, of course.
Terry Matalis is like our age. He's just a little bit older than us.
So anyway, we can talk about that more next week because when we talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about it next week. Can't have anything about the rum, says Martin. That's true.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta have rum. Rum is cornerstone. So, all right. So 1980, the final countdown. This film came out. Kirk Douglas got a pretty good right off the bat. You got Kirk Douglas and Martin Sheen.
Yeah, too.
And I know Kirk Douglas wanted Michael Douglas to play the part that Martin Sheen did, but he was tied up with the one about the nuclear
apocalypse.
China Syndrome, I think.
Oh, China Syndrome. I mean, yeah, China Syndrome.
I think it was that one. So anyway, so the basic plot is pretty simple in this one. You have a nuclear naval carrier that somehow out in the Pacific gets caught in a weird natural storm. It wasn't a time machine, and they go back to. It was a temporal. Oddly enough, they go back to December 6th, 1941, the day before Pearl Harbor invasion. Of course, and if you don't know what that importance of that date, you really. Kind of need to go back to the history class.
Might want to study a
little bit. So, of course, the movie's really not so much about time travel, in my opinion. It's about this decision of do you interfere or do you leave it alone?
Can we unpack that a little bit? Like, intellectually, we all knew that the movie wasn't going there. like we knew this movie was not going to show them
destroying the Japanese fleet.
you wanted to see it, right?
You kind of wanted to see it,
I
though.
wanted to see it.
And then that's what I said. As a kid, this is why I like this movie. First of all, it had jets and planes in it, which a 13-year-old kid, I was like, yeah, this was cool. Remember, this was way before Top Gun.
Yes.
And so you had that, and then you had these F-14 Tomcats kind of dogfighting with what were supposed to be Japanese Zeros, which were actually T-6 Texans, just repainted. But that was kind of cool. You always that's one of those things you always thought about when you're a kid, or not, what if you had this, how many times you've had that? What if we had this modern technology back in XYZ time? Yes. And the funny thing about that, because those planes are so far apart on the evolutionary scale of aircraft, the Texans were at full throttle, like they couldn't get any more power. And the F-14s were just above stall speed.
Were you watching that sequence? Yes, there's a sequence where he has and he like sweeps the wings back.
Well, the wings, that's right, because that's how they get more lift when they're slower. They pull.
Why are you doing that? You're at stall speed. Yeah.
Well, you could see in that shot where the planes are in the same shot, that the F-14s have their wings out.
They did say that the T-6s were more maneuverable, like they could kind of
because of speed, because they're slower, so that they could turn quicker. But it was just funny because it would, like, the jets would just go past them so fast that would. Now, granted, from a distance they could just missile.
They would have been able.
Wouldn't even need to get close to them anyway. But there's a lot of little niggles stuff that's not right that they did. Well, not right, or they, it's like, even when like when they first get to the carrier and they're all wearing their caps, you never would wear that on a deck. Wind would blow off.
There was one scene that people always, just getting back to that dogfight super quick. There was one scene that people always like, he almost put it in the drink. He didn't. It was actually a perspective thing with the camera. But there's a shot where the Tomcat's going down and he levels off, and it looks like he's leveling off like right on top of the water. He was up a bit. He was he's like, we were like 100 feet up. I'm like, that's 99 good feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so even at 100 feet, I think he sprayed water. You know what I'm saying?
It's probably did. Yeah, he probably did. But that was so cool. But the whole movie was like, look, guys, we're on an air. You guys look.
Yeah, and they weren't even hiding the fact this movie was Navy recruiting film, just like Top Gun was. The Navy gave them full support. Obviously, they were actually on the real Nimitz.
Yes, they were on the Nimitz,
which was in the Atlantic. It's part of the Atlantic Fleet, not the Pacific. It was eventually transferred to the Pacific Fleet in like '86, I think. So the ship you actually saw when it pulls into Pearl and it goes past the Arizona Memorial was was another carrier, smaller one, I think. That was actually in the Pacific. I could find it. I had it somewhere. The Kitty Hawk, I think it was. It was a Kitty Hawk. So anyway, but you wouldn't be able to tell a difference if you didn't know things about them. So the basic premise is they go back to the day before the Pearl Harbor invasion. They finally figure out that that's where they are. Of course, initially they have no clue what's going on. They think it's a big joke, and then they realize. So, but the admiral, by Kirk Douglas, he's gonna go and blow the crap out of the Japanese fleet, which a carrier of that era probably wouldn't have much problem.
Oh yeah, they have no problem. It would have been over before it started.
Yeah.
He wasn't at first. Like, he actually really, you could tell he was like, yeah. And then finally he gave the signal.
Well, I think at first he didn't believe. He still didn't believe. Thought it was.
Yeah, they didn't believe.
Thought it was somebody was playing a prank on him.
Yeah.
But then he's like, he felt that, our job, regardless of the time we're in, is to protect the United States. That's what he says. So
we actually thought that, well, crap, Honolulu got nuked. Like, I think that was their.
Yeah,
their
they thought right when they couldn't contact anybody, they thought there was a
they were remarkably blasé about the fact that this anomaly knocked them all out, like gave them searing pain apparently, and then knocked them all out. And I get that an aircraft carrier, it's not the Enterprise. Like, there's not scientists on board. I get that. But don't you think they would have at least acknowledged the fact that the entire crew had been knocked out? Maybe put it in the ship's log real quick.
I don't think, again, you can't dig too deep into this film as far as the science of it, because there's a lot of holes in it. This is probably one of the only films, though,
whole thing
that
to drive
does
horses.
time travel on a large scale,
Yeah,
where you have a
really
whole
huge scale. Yeah,
thousands of people all of a sudden moved, not just one or two people.
yeah,
So it was kind of interesting. I don't think that's been done, other than in like Star Trek or something, where you have an actual starship. But I mean, like, kind of more Earth based.
yeah. And just so you guys know, I really enjoy this movie. I like this movie, but I'm about to tear it apart. It has its issues. Like, I wish they would have unpacked that whole temporal anomaly a
Well,
little
yeah,
bit.
they kind of, like I said, the most of the movie, if you take out all the scenes of aircraft taking off and landing and deck operations, you'd have about a 20-minute, 25 minute
You know what? You know what?
I mean, there's really not a lot there. They go back in time.
There's some yacht
They
scenes.
figure out that there's the yacht scene with the fictitious,
and then there's the whole scene with the captured Japanese.
Right. They captured. Well, they rescue him because they shoot him down. But I'm like, there's really not a lot of it. Kind of like, because remember, this whole thing happens in less than like 24 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, but there's really not a lot. They're gonna, luckily the captain goes, okay. There is something to be said. Was for some reason there was some higher purpose to this for whatever reason, because it drops them on a very interesting date for some odd reason.
Yeah, it was.
And then right before they're going to interfere, the anomaly shows back up and says, "Nope, we're taking you back."
Yeah.
To what? So what was? To what end was it? Yeah. Was it
like you only had? We're gonna send you there. You only have that limited time to do something.
Higher power correcting the timeline that had gotten screwed up, and they needed them to fix it. Maybe that one guy, the commander, what's his name, that ended up getting stranded and staying in 19.
Yeah, James Ferrantino. What was his name? Owens, I think.
He was a
that part was great. Like having him show up at the end. Now he's aged, and
he really was in the beginning too, because remember he kind of saw Martin
in the car at the beginning.
And we know that. Well, we know now that was him in the car.
That was great, but then other things didn't pay off. Like in the beginning, there was the jet whose tail hook didn't come down, and they just filmed that because that's literally something that happened while they were on board filming. So like, oh, hey, let's get this.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
That should have paid off. Like that should have had a payoff later on in the movie, but it didn't. It was just like, hey guys, this is what we do when the tail hook doesn't come down. Like, okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a big Navy propaganda film. Those
pilots, you can see interviews with those pilots on YouTube, and they are hilarious, and they think Top Gun was horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
They had criticism for Top Gun, which was pretty funny. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if that's kind of the, people in glass houses shouldn't. I mean, this film, as far as naval operation, was pretty accurate. I mean, I've never
standard naval operation.
But yeah, the other interesting thing, which originally I started watching this and knowing what I know, and it's like, I thought when the storm started to come up, and I'm like, well, are the escorts going to go with him? I don't remember the escorts. And then he says, tell them to go back to Pearl. So I was like, oh, okay, so they cover that, because carriers are never by themselves. They're always with a task force. They always have escorts, smaller like destroyers and stuff. So that I'm glad they at least covered that, even though most people wouldn't have any clue.
Some of the stuff. There's a line about him turning into the wind or something, because the planes, but at least back then, maybe that has changed now. But back then, they had to be either going into the wind or coming out of the wind for those planes to land.
Right, they have to point the nose into the wind.
Overlook the time stream.
Yeah.
I wonder if he made bank. He busted because he was rich.
Well, he clearly did. And that's what the point I was going to make. Clearly, he used his knowledge of the future.
Yeah.
To make sure that he was wealthy, because
But did he orchestrate the whole thing? Did he actually somehow orchestrate? Because this is one of those fulfilling loop situations.
Well, that's what I was saying. You wonder if he's you wonder,
So did he orchestrate the whole time thing to make sure it fulfilled itself?
Well, how would you? Oh, you mean that he invented some kind of device that created the storm in the first place?
I don't know. That's why I don't. That's why
I don't know. But he's also, there's some kind of was there some kind of preordained destiny? Because remember, he was the one that was the scholar about the Japanese invasion. So but yeah, it's so anyway. Overall though, it's an entertaining movie.
Oh God, yes, it's a fun movie.
Does it hold up? You know, we were talking about this, but this movie is as distant in the past as 1941 was to the people in the movie at the time.
Yes.
So
This
there's
thing is 40
give you some perspective.
years
It's
old.
about 40 to 43 years old, and it was about 43 years.
3 years
Yeah.
old. But here's the weird thing: is I feel like if you drop me back 40 years in 1980, I'd recognize things. Like I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I'm kind of surprised that when they do time travel and they choose only 40 years.
Yeah, that you wouldn't. That everything.
I think it was because of the event.
Everybody thinks that when they go forward in the future, that things are going to be
so
drastically different. And
you're befuddled and you're agog.
Yes, I mean, if you really kind of look at it from 1980 to now, I mean, just on the technology side, look at how different cars look. We have electric cars.
You recognize it's a car. You're not going
pocket computers that are more powerful than anything they said.
We would recognize. On the other hand, there are kids out there who, when you give them a rotary phone, they're like,
they have no idea what it is. Yeah.
Christopher Collins is saying, I like the musical score in this film. Yeah, the score is to this day the Nimiz's breakaway music. So if they get replenished, if another boat comes to replenish them at sea, and then it's time to go, that's what they play to like cheer the sailors on or whatever. And they all have their own, like the Enterprise has Star Trek music. And I don't know, I knew some of the other ones because I had been researching it for this. But yeah, each ship gets its own.
Well, it's the captain decides.
Yeah, the captain decides.
Captain decides breakaway generally.
Yeah.
With the breakaway.
So that's kind of cool.
It's just a morale booster.
Yeah, it's just a little morale booster, but this is actually good music. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you learned about this film from Robert Meyer Burnett? Oh, that's funny. Was he talking about it in one of his podcasts, one of his shows? He would know this one. I'm sure. I knowing him as I do, he would know this one. For those of you guys who don't know, Robert,
who did the music for this?
I can look it up real quick. Robert Meyer Burnett. He was doing Trexperts for a while there, but he has his own podcast, and we know him because he came up to the set tour.
Right. Worked on that other fan film that we will not speak of.
We will not speak of. Yes. That's the Nimitz Wrong website. Let me go. The musical score was by John Scott.
So the other thing I thought which was kind of funny, which I know, again, remember, this is before CGI. Any kind of, so they would have, everything would have been more CGI. They could have got the planes to fly at, more realistic speeds, I guess.
You know what?
They had the pictures. They had the old pictures of Pearl Harbor prior to the attack from probably the Department of Defense Archives, and then they had the flyover of the AWAC. And the photos are identical, and I'm like, okay,
but even like the water ripples were the same.
But I'm like, you guys could have done something to make it look a little more modern photograph.
Completely agree.
So I just thought it was kind of funny. It kind of reminded me of the old movie Midway, the original one from with.
Oh yes, but you know who this was? This was the same guy that did Tor.
Yeah, well, they were, and that's where they took a lot of those photographs when they showed
the photographs and the footage.
When they showed the footage of the actual bombings and stuff like that of the invasion, that was from Tor.
Yeah. Christopher is saying the planes look great in this film. Yeah, the pilots. I was talking about the Navy pilots earlier. And I was saying how they hated Top Gun. They did the exact same things that they were doing for Top Gun. They had to film some of this stuff themselves. They convinced the movie producers. The movie producers were gonna do models or something. There's a shot of the missile of them firing like Fox 1 or whatever the heck, Fox 2. And the pilot's like, no, we'll do it for you. And so they taught the one pilot how to use the camera, and they get up there and they get themselves situated, and the pilot's filming it, and the other guy shoots the missile, and they're like, we got it. They were so excited. Like they got to film that, and they used it in the film.
The pilots of the T6 was actually a World War II ace.
Yes.
It's just kind of interesting because remember, again, it's only 40 years, so he could still be a film.
Weird. What was the thing about when they thumped him? Like he flew past him, and the two T6s kind of went off in the wash. There was some little story about that. Like I think they were scared. One of the pilots lost some stuff out of the cockpit, and they were scared they were not going to regain control of that airplane, but he did.
Yeah. Well, that's
You're not
again,
supposed to do that. It's
like
like
I
an
said,
illegal
those
maneuver.
two aircraft are very far apart on the evolutionary scale of aircraft.
Oh God! I mean, they were
I
flying
mean,
with the
it's
canopies
again
open.
the advancements that have been made. If you look at it, you look at a Tomcat of like 1980 and the most like the F-18 like we saw in Top Gun. I mean, those are very, very obviously the F-18 is a much more advanced aircraft, but I think the Tomcat could probably hold its own for a little while. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not that far apart. They're both as
No, the
far as
Tomcat
speed
and the F-18 are not
maneuverability.
that far apart, but a T-6
Technology, it's usually
or
all
a Real
all
Zero
the guided missiles and all that stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my point is that there's a bigger gap
yeah.
on what
Super minor note. I also want to say they showed the Tomcats with the skull with the Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones painted. I love that. Those are not used anymore. I don't know what squadron that is. You guys, if you know, tell me. But I love that.
Yeah, I
And
thought that was a great paint job on those
super paint job.
F-14s.
That got a nod in Robotech as Roy Fokker and then Rick Hunter's Skull Squadron had that paint job on their Valkyries or Guardians or whatever the heck they were.
Probably they took it off because it became not PC.
No, I'm sure it's wildly not PC to be a pirate, but Chris, Martin, where's your comment? Did the Nimitz stand in for the Enterprise in the voyage home? Was there an aircraft carrier at that end sequence of the voyage home when they brought the whales? I think there was. Was it the Nimitz?
I think he's just talking about the time travels. The thing all they really did was they took. I mean, the time travel of the Nimitz was pretty. I thought wasn't. It was just the effect of the storm, whatever that circular thing, and then a silhouette of the ship.
Yeah, you know what
that wasn't like it was that
laser. Like that was their effect. Because you know why? The Navy, it ended up being much more expensive than they thought it was going to be working with the Navy. And by the time they got all that stuff done, which was awesome stuff that they didn't want to get rid of, they had no money left for special effects. So it was literally like smoke and mirrors to do that. Christopher Collins is asking which had a better time travel sequence, the Final Countdown or Star Trek for the Voyage Home. I'm going to go with Star Trek.
Yeah, I got to go with Star Trek.
Star Trek 4. Voyage Home, they actually put some... Yeah, it was more than just a laser and smoke.
So, yeah, because it was a silhouette. Then they just did a dissolve to the sunny day, the ship cruising on the sunny day thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. It's not from a budget aspect because they didn't show much of the Pearl Harbor. They didn't have to. They just stayed on the entire. It's almost like a bottle movie. Like they didn't show any of Hawaii. They didn't show. It was all happening on the Nimitz. It was a bottle movie on the Nimitz. With just a couple shots at when they came into port at the beginning and the end of the film, and a couple shots of that yacht and the Zeros, and that's it. Nothing else. So budget wise, actually, yeah, that was pretty smart to be honest with you.
Yeah. So the I forgot. Train of thought gone. Sorry.
Martin saying I think the CVV Enterprise in Alameda Harbor at the end of the one with the whales? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that was during. That was the one that Chekhov was trying to steal the trying to steal the nuclear material, the
nuclear vessel.
The nuclear where it gets in Alameda. Where the hell's Alameda? Yeah, that was the Enterprise, because that's Chekhov said that. Remember, he goes, Admiral, it's the Enterprise.
It's the Enterprise,
so
yeah.
The Enterprise, but no, there was no carrier. There was no carrier at the end of that movie.
No, not at the end. I remember they were in the water. I forgot about the
Chekhov. There was the Russian. It was Russian whaling ship.
Yes. There was the.
And they shoot the harpoon, and it hits the invisible bird of prey.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it appears, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And they turn and just leave, and then they go back to.
The park. Everybody remember where we parked.
And then they go back, they go up and they do their thing, and then they crash in San Francisco Bay.
And then that gets brilliantly, and that again next week when we do Picard, another brilliant nod.
So
another brilliant nod.
So it was interesting. Most of the people you saw, like whenever they did like the crew scenes,
real crew.
Well, some of them were, but most of them, I think, were actually actors. I think they brought in other people.
Yeah, 48 crewmen got credit for this movie, and they had lines, and you could tell right away who was.
Yeah, they weren't. How would you expect?
That's
So
okay. I hope
well,
they
that
have
was always kind of the thing I was always wondering. Okay, so you get the crew, they went through this weird storm thing. And so the command crew is kind of like, okay, something's going on, and then, but like, yeah, there's thousands of people on the ship,
5,000 men on
and
that
they
ship.
just like everybody's. I mean, there was a kind of a scene where they're thinking, oh, we must be at war,
Yeah,
but
okay, look, guys, I've never been on a ship. I was an
but
army wife. I
think
can
about the
only tell you how
situation. If
it
they
works in the
couldn't go
army.
back, what were they
No.
going to do with 2,000 people?
Well,
What are you going to do?
like,
Sail around forever because you can't make port without screwing up the timeline?
yeah, I suppose. I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I've never been shipboard. If you guys have been in the Navy, I'm sure rumors are rampant about like rumors. I'm sure rip through a ship like wildfire.
Oh yeah,
Like
anything else, there's a telegraph.
And then we had the girl and the dog, and like many movies of that age, this thing had a very, very 1970s, 1980s thing that they do. They yada yada stuff that they should have unpacked and gone a little deeper into.
Well,
And they dwelled on details that nobody cares. Why are you
There's no
dwelling?
reason for the dog. The dog had no.
The dog just had to show that it was her because she was like Charlie, and the dog was all happy. And so the dog,
that was like the only thing in the end that because that was the oldest living dog.
The dog recognized her, so surely it was her. That was you're right. That was the dog's whole. And for a hot minute, I thought they were going to kill the dog on that yacht. I was like, oh, the dog's dead, but it lived. The CAG went in after it. What the hell?
Saved the dog.
Saved the dog.
So yeah, that's Catherine Ross. You might remember her from her probably other most prominent movie was The Graduate.
The Graduate, yeah.
Yeah.
The only movie this movie does not pass the what's it called? The Buchholz test, the Becher test, the Buchholz test. Only one female. She didn't do much.
Well, I mean, 1980, there probably weren't a lot of female sailors on the carriers to begin with. So I mean,
there were no females here.
Yeah, I don't say there was none. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't in the Navy then, so I don't know if there were any. I would say.
Stepford Wives. You're right, you guys. She did do Stepford Wives.
She did Stepford Wives. Yeah. My point is that you're gonna have. It's gonna be a
heads turned when she was walking down the corridor. Heads turned, and that was about accurate.
Right. Well, that would be accurate.
Yep.
Even in, I think today's Navy probably wouldn't be too far off the mark.
Yeah, nowadays they women on the ships.
But yeah, I mean, that's just I think the nature of what this film is that it's going to be all male.
It's a little time capsule. If you want to look back,
it is very dated in a lot of ways. It's I don't know if she do Butch Cassidy. I have to look at her IMDb now. You're gonna make me look. You're gonna make me look.
No roads, kids. I mean, there were a couple roads to.
Apparently, she's done some Family Guy.
Oh, well, hey, that's all right. There were just a couple background production roads. Guys who work on this stuff, and roads to like the motion picture and Rathacon and stuff that would have been happening right around there, but no significant acting roads this week. I'm sorry.
Wow. Well, what are you going to do? They can't always be...
You can't win them all.
They all can't. Yeah, Stepford Wives. I don't really see anything. Wild Wild West.
Oh, Wild Wild West. Okay. The show, right?
Yeah, the show.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything else. Of course, we know Kirk Douglas. I mean, if we're going to go through cast, Kirk Douglas,
man.
Come on.
But you know what? This thing was produced by Peter Douglas, and he wanted his dad to do this. Which, you know what? I'm glad he got his dad to do it.
He plays. I mean, he's like almost like the perfect guy to play this.
Yeah, it lent it a lot of gravitas, and they did really good. Like they were very believable. Him and the other guy, like they were all super believable naval officers.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, he had who he reminded me of? Roy Scheider a lot in this movie.
A little bit, and Roy could have pulled this off too.
And Roy could have pulled it off too. Oh, he wasn't old enough back then, but he could have.
No, he had already done Jaws as Brody. I could see him as the captain of this. I mean, I could see it. He could think with a little gray in his hair would have worked.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But that was the feel I got because I remember Roy as captain of the Sequest.
I don't like that show.
You
Sorry.
don't like this show? I sound
We've had that. We've had this discussion. Remember
Yeah,
we did
we did it. We did Sequest on the show. All right, moving on. Moving on.
Yeah. So then Martin Sheen. I'm trying to see when did Apocalypse Now come out? That was earlier, right? He had already done that.
Chris is asking, was most of the aircraft footage shot by the military? Nope, it was shot by the production crew, and most of it was shot right off the ship. So some of the guys were trying to shoot while the jet took off, and they got knocked back a bit. Just a few of the air scene of the shots in the air were done by the pilots themselves.
Yeah. So this was Apocalypse Now was the year before, so he'd already done. Martin Sheen had already done Apocalypse Now, so very young Martin Sheen.
Yeah, they were trying to finish up Apocalypse Now, but they were doing. Martin had to leave to go do ADR for Apocalypse Now during this movie.
Yeah,
his character. You know what it was about this movie? Like I said, the yada yada stuff that should have been unpacked, and they went into heavy detail of stuff that should have been glossed over.
Like what?
The characters.
Explain. What do you think should have been unpacked more?
The temporal anomaly.
Like why
absolutely
it was there?
Should have been explained. Give us a little more.
Think about it. Wait. You even said earlier. Think about it. They're not a science vessel, so they had nobody that would be even a remote expert in this type of phenomena. So I think it's one of those things where we don't need to know what caused it. That's not the focus of the film. Yeah,
we might. If you're gonna pull it back and show Owens the CAG at the end, we might need to know, because
they could have explained it. But again, I don't think that was the focus of the film. The focus, first of all, it was just supposed to be look at the airplanes.
Yeah, it was a lot of just.
It really wasn't. There's no deep meaning in this film. Like I said, I think there's a little bit of the struggle of what do you do? It's that if you were faced, with Hitler before he was Hitler.
That's just it. That's something that could have been, yes, that's something that could have been unpacked a little bit.
I think that could have been unpacked a little more. That I will agree with you.
Discussion between the characters of
right, because really they all seem to be kind of on board with, let's go blow up the fleet.
Do it. Well, they're excited. Who doesn't want
to? Nobody was like, what if we make time worse?
Yeah, what if I kill my grandpa and then what do I do?
Well, I'm just saying, all these. Because you figured
they did look at Martin Sheen had the if you kill and then you're not born. He had
he said that's the paradox thing, and that's why but
his character of all the characters, his character needed to be unpacked a little bit more. I was not.
They didn't really explain too much. He was just like
why he was on board. I knew his job.
They did. But
I never saw him do his job on board.
Well, he was on board a day, and then they got sent back to 1941. So he didn't really have time to do any efficiency checks what he was supposed to do.
He had time to unpack. Like there's a scene and he's like in the mirror and there was like shaving gear. I'm like, you unpacked your shaving gear. You must have really moved in. Or so I don't know. I just feel like his character.
I thought it was funny that he went to the other guy's cabin and just started rifling through his shit.
Oh my God. Right?
I was like, dude, it's like, and he didn't even apologize. Like when the other guy came in, he's like, he was sorry.
Didn't even apologize. Just like, hey, you got some interesting paperwork here.
I always thought that was like.
And did it again and had the balls to stand in the head and wait for him to open the door, and he's standing there with the stuff like I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, things must have been different in 1980 because I don't know.
I was just like, that was one thing that stood out to me. I was like, he didn't even apologize. He just walks in the other guy's room, starts rifling through his stuff.
Wouldn't he just basically, like, if an emergency started happening, wouldn't he just be locked in his room the whole rest of the trip? Like, he was always around. He was like,
Well, the captain did say, he
was puppy dogging the captain everywhere.
But the captain said, I want you to stick with me, like, the whole time. Like, but that was like, why? Because why he felt that guy was so important, because he was really just like an analyst.
Honestly, who should have been there? The CAG, who had the historical knowledge.
Right. He should have been the one following the captain. You're right. But I guess but Martin Sheen's character had to be more prominent.
You're going to kill your own grandpa guy. All right, whatever. The CAG was too busy speaking Japanese to the Japanese guy or revealing Japanese secrets to the Japanese guy.
Yes.
Who wasn't Japanese. The actor is Korean, and no, that's not a mistake. There were Koreans who fought for the Japanese in World War II, so that kind of worked out.
Well, and most people wouldn't know. Not to even touch on being like racist, but let's face it, most people can't tell the difference between a Korean and a Japanese.
Not by their name, but not by looks.
But maybe their name, but not by their looks.
Yeah, Chris is saying the bottom line is not to interfere with a major focal point in time. Yeah, Chris,
Yeah,
you're
that's
not.
it. I would have liked to have seen them dig into that more, like less of, well, I would have liked to see more of a conversation and from that, should we do this because we could be making things worse
Yeah,
by changing this? Not, oh yeah, we're going to save all these people. I understood Kirk Douglas's very rudimentary response to that is we're here now, so we're going to do what we have
his
to do.
response is our job is to defend.
Yeah,
How
but
did he say
he's
it?
saying I'm not going to worry about
Yeah,
I'm here now. This
yeah,
is the decisions I'm making about what's happening now.
yeah.
But that's kind of very short-sighted, because you are probably making even what they did could have changed. Those two pilots
Exactly.
that they shot down,
Yeah.
these Japanese pilots could have gone on to be, and was inventor of the freaking VHS machine for all you know.
Exactly.
Something
Exactly.
important.
Yeah. Something's going to tweak. Bill is saying Sheen had a heart attack during Apocalypse Now. That's right, he did. The behind the scenes on this movie mentioned that because he was on this really strict workout regimen. Like he had, they made the actors. The behind the scenes commentary made the actors not sound good. Valentino was complaining about a bed spring in his bed that was like hurting his back. Catherine Ross was complaining about the catering in Key West. I'm like, girl, you're in Key West. And then Martin Sheen was the cool one. He had a very strict regimen of like exercise and diet because he had just had this heart attack on Apocalypse Now. And they were like, hey, we need to shoot. And he was really cool about like shifting his schedule around and not, saving his workouts for later so he could get stuff shot. Christopher Collins was saying this thing came out in 1980. That's the same year Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, don't compare this to Empire Strikes Back. This is 92.4% a naval propaganda film and only 7.6% a temporal anomaly sci-fi movie. You're just there to watch the pretty planes. Like I said, I love to watch deck ops. I think they're fascinating. I wish there could be a live stream on an actual aircraft carrier so I could just watch deck ops. You can't, but I wish there was.
Well, that would be kind of.
It'd be a little bit. You'd be breaking.
It's kind of like top secret stuff.
Top secret stuff. Yeah. But I love it. Now I prefer.
No, it is fascinating to watch because they are like floating cities, and they are so organized, and they run like a well-oiled machine.
They do.
They have to.
They do,
because not only do they have to get those aircraft on board and launched in record time, they can't make mistakes because it's very. Ask anybody. I don't know. Ask anybody that served on a carrier, and they will tell you that it's probably one of the most dangerous places.
My dad served
on the flight deck. Is on the flight deck. I mean, because you can get blown off that ship, and it's a long way down the water.
Oh yeah.
Assuming
my dad served on a boat called the Boxer, the USS Boxer, and he would tell stories every now and again. He was radar guy, so he wasn't on the deck, but he would tell stories every now and again. And then funny stories, like for some reason they pulled into port, and I don't know why, but they had artichokes. They got shipped artichokes. None of the guys knew what they were. None of the guys knew how to eat them. None of the guys wanted artichokes, so they ended up dumping boxes and boxes and boxes of artichokes over the side.
But I knew a guy that was on a carrier, and they used to. It was one of the smaller ones, I think. They used to hot rack, which basically
two guys.
You'd share a bunk, so when he was on shift, you were sleeping, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And now the catapults on these ships are still to this day steam driven.
Yes.
So it's still a steam piston. And what happened was while he was on duty, one of the steam catapults blew apart, and like one of the big pulleys or something went like literally through the ship. It was that much energy, and went right through and killed the guy that was in his rack. Like he was like, literally, if I was asleep, it would have been me that died. I'm like because this thing like blew a hole right through the side of the ship. And not a fun story, but it'll give you an example that it's not all fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's
would like you to believe.
It's dangerous because it's not just what's happening on the deck. Yeah. There's like elevators that bring these planes up and down, and there's all these planes parked underneath. And then, it's insane.
If you ever get to go see one in person, even if it's a World War II one, they are amazing vessels. The closest one I think to us is probably in New York City, the Intrepid.
Probably Intrepid,
there's one down in Charleston too. I went on that one. I can't think of the name of which
I
carrier.
don't think there's anything up here in Boston.
The Intrepids are great because the Intrepid, not only is it neat to go see and all the aircraft they have on it, but the history, the story of the Intrepid itself during World War II is a fascinating story, and how they were able to. The Japanese thought they sunk it, and they barely almost did, and they were able to get that thing into dry dock, repair it, and send it back out.
Get it back out
so
there
fast that the Japanese thought it was like a ghost ship. Like they couldn't believe that it was this that because they thought they sunk it to begin with. Anyway, it's a great story. A lot of people unfortunately died from kamikaze attacks on that ship, but if you go to the Intrepid Museum in New York, it's worth whatever they're charging to go tour that thing. So.
Yeah. Chris Collins is saying the film came out shortly after World War II. Footage became declassified, which is why one reason why Midway. Oh, that movie Midway. Yeah, Midway was made with all the found airplane footage. Yeah. My dad was a massive
that had quite a cast too, because that was like all that was like. I love that movie because it did did describe that battle pretty well as far as the accuracy. It was a long movie though. But yeah, that had didn't it have Henry Fonda and Charlton Heston?
I'll have to look. Yeah,
the list went on for they pulled out every big name.
My dad was a huge military historian, and so those kind of Midway, Tor, Iroquois, those things were on rerun in our house, on repeat all the time. This thing ran a bunch in our house. Bill was saying this was a propaganda film aimed at him, but it didn't work. Yeah, I would have been the right age for Top Gun.
I was too young. Top Gun, I was probably closer.
It did work on my husband though. My husband went to West Point and became an Army aviator because of Top Gun. So, of course, Army aviators, helicopters. That's a whole nother kind of pilot.
They used to have aircraft. They became the Air Force. Used to be the Army Air Corps. And
they were the Army Air Corps. They are still the Army. Yeah, they are still Army aviators.
Yeah. They're usually Air Cav.
They are the Air Cav. Yes, they are helicopters. All helicopters. They've got all kinds of fun things.
Oh yeah. Each service has an aviation branch.
Well, you guys know the joke that the Marines are the Navy's Army, kind of thing.
So yeah, but the Marines have their own pilots as well,
and the Marines have their own Air Force.
Yeah, they have their own pilots. Even the Coast Guard, we have our aircraft.
So the Navy's Army has its own Air Force. Yeah. Only in America.
My brother-in-law being an Air Force pilot, there's always that rivalry between the Air Force pilots and the Navy pilots. And, they always say the Navy pilots are better because they have to land on those carriers. Of course, my brother would say it's just a controlled crash.
But, they say the Army aviators, they just, because it's helicopters, they literally beat the air into submission.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all good. Anyway. All good.
So, final thoughts on this film, boy.
I kind of ripped it apart, but I love this movie. I don't know why.
I liked it when I was a kid in 1980 when I saw it. It was very popular. We all talked buzzing about it in school. It was cool. It was that. Not only did you get to see all those great aircraft, especially some of that stuff, some of the old, which is funny. There's still some of them was nostalgic. Besides the Tomcat, looking at some of the
seeing the Tomcat, seeing that picture, seeing the skull and crossbones, very nostalgic.
Like that. There's a lot of neat stuff in there that again, it's hard to believe that it's over 40 years ago.
40 years old. But the thing is, a lot of things haven't changed. Like if you actually want an aircraft carrier, there'd be some of that stuff that's still operating the same way 40 years ago.
A6 intruders were still used. I don't think they're still.
Oh, I know it's still the helicopter, that Sea King.
The helicopter is still the one that's the one that they fly. That's basically Marine One.
Marine One, yes. And the other plane, all the other planes are gone except for, I can tell you, the one other plane that is being used.
But I know they used those A6 intruders. Those are like Vietnam era. They use those
the Hawkeye. They're still using that Hawkeye, I think.
Yeah, the one with the big radar thing on it. Yeah, the Air Force called them AWAC.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. But so a lot of that stuff is still, it ain't broke, don't fix it.
This thing was on Siskel and Ebert's worst movies list.
Well, I mean, if you break it down, it's not War and Peace. It's not, it's not The Godfather. It's not.
Not a good movie,
It's
and
just,
yet, but
but it's
you watch it like
entertaining.
it's
It's
entertaining.
entertaining. It's
It's
entertaining. It's
Flip-flops.
entertaining for
Look,
its.
kids, we're on the Nimitz. Look, kids,
Yeah,
we're on the
right.
Nimitz. Just drive it home in every scene.
I
Look,
do like
kids,
that one
we're on
scene
the
where the guy
Nimitz.
where he's trying to he's saying, I'm, Captain so and so of the USS Nimitz. Yes, we don't name ships after admirals that are still serving.
Still alive, yeah. He did really good. Charles Durning, and I don't usually like him in his stuff, and he's played some dumb roles. He was really good in this movie.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we've probably beaten as much.
We've beat the poor thing to death.
Yeah, poor
Look,
thing.
kids, we're on the Nimitz. Look, kids, we're filming on the Nimitz.
There you go.
Every scene. Look, kids.
Yeah,
it's
like I said, if you took out all the scenes that were just straight Navy,
there'd be
footage,
nothing.
like stock
You
footage,
know what?
almost
If you
like
took all the scenes
aircraft.
that were, you'd have a Twilight Zone episode.
It would be like it'd literally be like half an hour long.
You would have a Twilight.
Because the movie's only like an hour and 40 to begin with.
Yeah, it's not that long of a movie.
So.
It's like in Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's European Vacation. Look, kids, big band. Look, kids, big band.
Yeah,
Look, kids, we're on the Nimitz.
Keeps going
Look,
around.
kids, we're on the Nimitz. Look, kids, we're filming on the Nimitz. Okay, we get it.
All right. So what's Roy got? Looks like Roy's off to.
I don't know. Roy, I think is off.
I just saw a post that he's off to.
He's off to the Space 1999. He's going to Calgary to the Space 1999 convention. If you guys are going to go there, send us pictures because I want to see how it goes. Good luck and have fun to everyone who's going to be doing that. And Phil is off this week too, so I have literally nothing.
Everybody's
nothing
off.
to report.
They're going to have to quick. So next week we're going to do Picard season 1, 2, 3.
We're doing Picard, and we can have a panel for this, right?
Yeah, I'll probably.
Come on, guys, come talk about Picard because
I'll reach out to some folks and we'll see who.
We will reach out.
Like I said, it's not going to be. This is not going to be a. Oh, we love Star Trek. We're not going to say anything bad about it because I think this one.
Martin,
one of those shows. This is one of those shows that. I think needs to be beaten on a little bit. Not the last season, of course, was very good, but there was a lot of stuff wrong with it. And
many problems.
We're going to talk about that.
In
my opinion, if you loved all 3 seasons, bless you.
We might need more than an hour because I feel like we have a lot of territory to cover.
We have a lot of territory to cover. Yeah, it's not going to be a love fest for all of it. So just be prepared. We try to keep things positive, but anyway, so I guess on that note, there really isn't nobody else. Yeah, everybody else is off. So
yeah,
and then after we do Picard, we're gonna do Mando.
Are you doing Mando? Yeah,
I think we're gonna do Mando. We did Mando after season 1. We did a Mando episode, and now
Chris says do 20 minutes a season. I feel like each season.
Yeah,
Chris,
I don't know. I think I don't know. We'll see, Chris. I don't know how it's gonna break down like that. I think we're going to jump around. I could see us jumping.
I feel knowing us, we
don't do well with lanes.
We're going to be all over the board. Yeah, no.
we don't stay in our lane.
You would be organized and have organization to our show.
No, and then we're all over the place. Yeah, then it's like no. So, anywho, all right. So so we'll do Mando after that, and then beyond that, well, that's just getting too far out for me. But if there's something you guys want us to do, like y'all voted for this one, let us know. Let us know. So. All right. Well, it's 8:00. Look at that. We made it. We did it. I didn't know if we had I didn't know if we had an hour of this, but we did. Okay. So good night, guys. We'll see you next week for Picard. If you haven't watched it, watch it because there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah. Watch quick.
Good night.